Good evening, everyone. Tonight I'm going to work on an approach to the intermodal yard. In the past I had thought about trying to maybe make a roadway that came across over the factory area here and down, some kind of an approach roadway that way. But I just don't have the room, and the slope would be a little bit too high to try and make that type of an approach here. So what I've decided to do is, in this area that you see here, put in a driveway, an approach to the intermodal yard, and possibly in this area here put in an access office similar to this little blue one that I had in here before. I've had it sitting here for several months. That was my plan, was to make that the check-in station. But I found a cornerstone kit online, which it's called a guard shack and access gates. And what it has, it's basically a one-way in, one-way out approach. And it's got some gates, and a guard shack in the center with a gate on each side, entrance and exit, and then it has a small office building with it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and purchase that. And in plans for that, I need a little bit bigger area here to drive the trucks in and out. So my plan is to put a approach area here about 12 inches wide, which is about over to here, and then come down here about 8 inches, and then back this direction to 12. And so obviously the approach will end here at the layout. The theory is that this is one of those off layout connectors. So just to make it look like there's life beyond the layout here out to the left. And so I'm going to go ahead and pave that, and what I'm going to do is use this same material that I've used for the intermodal yard. Obviously you can see there's probably about, I don't know if you can see or not, right here. That's about a ½ an inch rise or so that I'm going to have to be able to accommodate. And my plan for that is to use some of those plastic spacers that I've used before. I don't know if you can see it, but there are a few of them sitting under the silos there, my homemade silos, just to the right, those little white things. So I'm going to use some of those once I get the approach piece cut out. I'll come out here and just make sure that it's going to fit well, and then I'll use those spacers around the edges of the approach, and then 2 or 3 in the middle to keep it level. And I can use regular plastic model cement to attach those to the bottom of the driveway. So that's what I'll be doing here using this cement. And so what I'm going to do is, I've measured this out already, and I'm going to do 12 across here, 12 down the side, and then back to a point 8 inches from this end. So it'll be kind of an irregularly shaped piece of pavement there. But I'm going to go ahead and do that, measure it out, cut it out, and come back out here, and we'll set it in place and see what it looks like, and then decide whether I need to do any modifications. So I'll be back shortly. Here's the approach concrete area cut and in place. So I'm going to try and match it up right over here with the end of the layout, and bring it back this way. Up in here somewhere is where the access gates will be. There should be plenty of room for the guardhouse over here. Even if I have to put it back in this area, I will. If I need to remove some of that scenery and put a little foundation there, I can definitely do that. But as you can see, this isn't very level right here. So it looks like we've got, I don't know, maybe a quarter of an inch that we have to bring that up. And so what my plan is, as I shoot the garage floor here, is I've got these plastic spacers that I've talked about before. They have a groove on one side and a ridge on the other, which allows them to fit together and stay together fairly well. So Obviously these are a little bit too short, but what my plan would be is to cut these, you know, in the same lengths as I need here to go around the edge. And you can see 2 of those in there bring that right up to the edge, to the exact height that I need. So I think that's what I'll do, is I'll go ahead and cut those spacers and fit that in. I'm pretty pleased with how this is going to look here. Obviously I can weather this so it looks a little bit, it looks like there's been trucks driving back and forth, and then I can paint lines on here, marking lines, you know, to guide the trucks in and out. So I think this is going to work all right. But you know, if it doesn't, I can always take it out and you know, think of another way to do this. So I think this is what I'm going to do right now. You know, another piece of scenery that I thought about adding here was around the edge of this, along this edge and the back end here, putting some of my homemade chain link fence, which I've got sitting right here, and that's a run of, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 inches along there, and I've got a longer one back here. Actually, it's not longer, it's shorter, but it's taller. You can see it sitting right here. So I think maybe I'll try and see if I can get that in the shot. I'll try and cut some of that and place it along the edge here, of course, you know, once I get it put in. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those spacers to the right length, and once I get those cut, I'll come back and show you how that's going to look, and then how I'll attach this to the top. And then obviously once I get that raised to the appropriate height, I'm going to have some area that I'm going to have to blend in back here at the edge so that it matches my current scenery height. And what I may do there is I've still got some of that brown, that real fine brown ballast, which is a pretty good match for dirt. You can see it there around the edge of the station. So I will come back and I will line the edge of this with that brown ballast, just so it looks like it's part of the landscape. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the spacers. I'll need 2 that are 12 inches long here, 2 that are 11 and a half this way, so you know, they're not sticking out beyond, and you know, I'll need something about 8 inches long back here. You know, as I look at this, what I may do is maybe just kind of let this slope a little bit, because it's resting back here on the scenery that's already there pretty well. So I may, I don't know if you can see under there or not, there's not too much of a gap. I may step it down a little bit, put a couple spacers here, maybe one halfway back, and then just let the back of this rest on the ground that's there. I think that might work out pretty well. And then since it's resting on the ground here, and my thought, I'm thinking but not talking about this, when I put the pins in, or the pins rather, for my chain link fence, it'll go directly into the scenery that's already here, and I won't have to worry about putting anything under there to catch those pins. So I'm going to try that and see how it works, and then, you know, I can take it back out and try something else. So I'll be back shortly after I get the spacers all cut in place. All right, well, I've gone ahead and mounted the camera on the tripod here so I can have both hands free to work. And so step one is I'm going to cut some of these spacers. I need 2 of them a foot long, so I'm just going to take my little ruler here, mark my length, and then I use a pair of tin snips to cut this stuff. It's pretty easy to cut. So I'll just nip off that first piece, and I'll go ahead and use it to size my second piece here. So the nice thing about these, as I've said, is that they lock together, so they form a pretty stable unit once you get them together. So we'll put these 2 together here, and we'll put them underneath the this front edge of the layout, or rather the access area. And I think that is going to work pretty well. I've got a shrub in the way back here that I need to move. So I think I'll cut one more and put it in the middle here, and this may be just about the right length. Well, how about that? All right, so that's the perfect length there. So I'll just place this one somewhere in this area. Okay, so I think that is going to be pretty good here. When I place my pins in to hold my fence, I'll just have to be careful on the back side here not to try and run a pin through this plastic. So that's not going to be very good. But I like the way this is looking right now. I'm going to shorten up these two about 1/4 of an inch. They're kind of sticking out, so I'll just take my tin snips and nip off 1/4 of an inch or so. Set this back in place. And check it once more for fit. And that's going to be pretty good. Pretty good right there. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just take some of this glue. This is just regular old plastic model cement. And I'm going to run some down the groove here. And it doesn't take a whole lot to get these together, so I'll just run some down the groove, flip it over, and place those together. So that'll be in place in fairly quickly. So I mentioned the guard shack and the access gates, which I don't have yet. You know, normally I would just go ahead and glue this down right now, but without having the building and the gates and everything, I just want to make sure that you know, it's all going to be sized properly. So I think what I may do is work a little bit on the fence, which is, you know, it's a fairly easy project to do. What I use for that, and I've got some of this cut out here. This is just a regular old universal window screen that you can buy. It came with 2 pieces. And it had a sliding mechanism that allowed these to slide past one another, so it can expand to the width of your window. And then, you know, you just put this in place and drop the window sash down on top. But what's nice about it is that obviously the screen is already held in place, top and bottom. And the way you can get chain link fence out of this is if you just place a ruler on here at a 45 across the screen. This is about 1 inch wide, so we're looking there at, you know, like an 8-foot high fence. So I can just use my utility knife to cut along the edge here, and I get a nice chain link looking fence out of here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. My cutting board and the knife are back inside. So I'm going to do that, and we'll come back and see how our fence is going to look here. I'm hoping that you know, I guess what I'll do is whatever I get out of here will be as how long it is. You know, that's going to be pretty good. And then up here it's only an 8-inch piece, so that shouldn't be bad at all. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this, and then I will come back and we'll go ahead and put some of this in place. So I will be back as soon as I get the fence cut out. Alright, so as usual, I've kind of gone ahead and done a little bit more than I said I was going to, and I haven't filmed much of it. But anyway, what I've done is I've cut the chain link fence out of my screen, as I said. And what I've done now is I've made some posts out of these pieces of sprue, plastic sprues that I had left over from some telephone poles. So I think those are actually going to look pretty good. They're a little bit more substantial than those metal posts that I had used before, but I think in this case I've gone ahead and spray painted them silver. Take this down. I don't know if you can see that too well. Let me just pull one out here. But anyway, what I've done is I've gone ahead. Well, you can't see that anyway, but they're now silver instead of brown, so they look metal. And I've drilled holes every couple of inches here along the edge of my access road. And I think that's going to work out pretty well. I'm probably going to put a little bit of glue down here on the front end to tack it down just to make sure we're good. But I think what I'm going to do now is go ahead and cement this fence to these posts. And what I've done in the corner up here is I have a telephone pole placed up there at the corner so that I'll be able to, let me see if I can go ahead and zoom in on that. I've got a telephone pole there on the corner, so you know, I've got power now to the guard shack and such that'll be over back in here. So let me pull that back out where it's just trying to autofocus on nothing there. But so I'm going to go ahead and put some glue down up on the front edge where it meets the intermodal yard, and I'm going to put some glue on the post and glue the fence down. This last post here at the very end, I think I'm going to leave out that one until I get my guard shack and my gates and everything in place, just to see if maybe I might want to change some of the access there. So if not, I've got a hole that's pretty close there, and I can go ahead and just put a post in and cement it later on. So that's what I'm going to do now, is go ahead and glue the screen, my chain link fence to my posts, and I will come back and show you how that looks. All right, I'm back on the other side here. I don't know if I've got enough light out here to do this, but I'm going to try and zoom in on this fence so you can see it glued up against the poles there. And I've got it attached in the corner to the telephone pole. And coming back down the far side there, it's attached to all those posts. I've got that cardboard sitting there just to hold that one end out straight, so it'll attach to those poles. So I've got it glued down here. Let me zoom back out. Got the corner glued down. I may have to put a little bit of weight on this. There we go. That'll hold it down. And so that's it. I think what I may do is go ahead and order that guard shack and access gate. So I'll have it here soon, and I can go ahead and put that in. As you might have guessed, I've decided not to change the intermodal yard. I'm just going to go with it as is. I'll just have to be a little bit careful when I'm moving cars in and out. One of the reasons I decided not to change this was I have one of those MyJack or MeJack cranes, however they pronounce those things, and the width of that is just wide enough to span these 4 tracks. So you know, it'll work well that way. I won't have to you know, worry about tearing out track, moving turnouts here that I've already got wired, and so forth. But one other purchase I've made on eBay, ordered it last night. Right here where you see that first grain hopper sitting, I ordered a little unloading ramp to put in there, and so that'll be a little team track section. And what I'm going to do there is just have that spot set for unloading things like heavy equipment and so forth that can drive off of a flat car. It's got a little ramp on it, a little unloading area. I can back a truck up to it and so forth. So that's going to go there. I'm not sure about these silos. Obviously, if I put that team track in there, I don't know whether to put these in or not. So I'm asking for opinions. My original plan was to scratch build a grain elevator here and kind of put it on this end. But, what I may do now, since I'm not going to have room for that, is I could put the silos here, right next to the other silos. And so I kind of need some input on that. So tell me whether you think that looks good or whether I ought to just forget that idea. There's not really anywhere else on the layout that I have space for those, so they're either going to go there or they're not going anywhere. I may wait till I just get that loading ramp, and I'll set it in there, and then we'll do another short update and see what you think about that. But as always, your comments are welcome. I appreciate all of the subscriptions and comments, and just really enjoy hearing from you guys. I had a had a little incident with my Athearn engine here that I put the decoder in. Turn this around so you can see it. Up here on the front, one of the leads attaches to the pickup that is on the truck, the front truck of the engine here. I'll zoom in. I don't know if that's going to show. Let me back out just a hair. But as you can see, the truck, as it turns, obviously the contact moves along with it, and it broke loose here, this lead, and then there's another red lead just behind it. Both of those solder onto that pickup there. So I'm going to have to resolder those. I thought that my decoder had gone bad because the engine was running fine. I had taken it off the track to run one of the other engines, and I put it back on, and nothing happened. It wouldn't move. So luckily that's all it was. I was worried that my decoder had gone bad. That wouldn't have been good. So I'll need to resolder that. And so anyhow, for tonight, that's about it. I'm going to let this dry a while, and then I may this evening, if it dries out well enough, come back and put some of the brown ballast around the outside edge here. You can see where it's got a little bit of a gap there, so I want to fill that in, and we'll go ahead and do that. And then I'll probably plant some shrubs and maybe some tall grass around the edge there to camouflage that. So I think it's going to look pretty good. But anyway, thanks for your comments and for viewing and sticking with me through all this. And take care. Hope everyone has a Merry Christmas if I don't have an update before then.